Have you ever wondered if it's still important to get a home inspection on a brand new home before you purchase? Or maybe you wondered what options you have if you find issues in the house or damage before the closing. What chances do you have of getting those things resolved? If these are questions you've had, this is the podcast for you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Realty Podcast with Tony Griffin, Keller Williams One, Greensboro, North Carolina, Kim Mathis and Associates. And today I want to talk about new homes and about what you can expect with brand new construction. So I've broken this down into just three different categories, and we're going to kind of touch on a little bit in each one. So the first thing to keep in mind in the first category is communication is key. It's always important to make sure that you stay in contact with everyone who's involved in the purchase of a new home. So you want to make sure that you stay in constant contact with your buyer's agent, in constant contact with the selling agent who's representing the builder. And there's a third person who you definitely want to have some contact with, and that would be the production manager or general contractor or head contractor. Every company has a different term or a different title for these folks. But basically, they're going to be the person who mainly oversees the production and the building of your home. It's very, very important to stay in contact with each one of these people in the process and make sure that they're communicating with each other as well. Because this breakdown in communication is where you find the most delays that should have been addressed sooner but are not. And the easiest thing to think about this in terms of is the last thing you want to have happen is expect to close on a home on a Friday, but find out that it's going to be not just next Friday, but maybe 2 months, 3 months from now when you're actually going to be closing and you had no idea. Things like that can be avoided by communication. It's really important to keep in mind that with a brand new home, regardless of the style or the size, general production time frame can be anywhere from about 8 months to 12 months or longer. So you're talking at least 3 quarters of a year or not a year plus. That doesn't mean you need to be in constant contact with people every single day or really, excuse me, every single week. It's important to maintain communication with these people, though. What I would say as a good general rule is to touch base with these folks once a month. It doesn't always need to be by a phone call. It can be something as simple as an email or even a text message to say, "Hey, how's everything going with this?" Of course, as the new homeowner, you can stop by the house whenever you like, but getting these updates, finding out any sort of hiccups before they become major hurdles can be the difference between having a good closing experience and being completely flustered and frustrated the entire way through. So, communication is ultra important, especially during the building phases, during the different levels of production. It's going to be important to make sure you know how everything's progressing with your house, if there's any issues with supplies or materials, or if there's just any general slowdowns. Maybe you're dealing with inclement weather, or maybe you're dealing with extreme heat, extreme cold, um, excessive rain. Things like that can slow down production. And even a few days here or there can turn into weeks of additional time that it's going to take to get your home closed. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you communicate and are being communicated to with everyone. Number two, home inspections. You're probably wondering, on a brand new home, why would I want to get a home inspection? Why would I want to pay money for somebody to take a look at a house that's brand spanking new? It should be completely perfect. There should be no issues with it at all. I would say, regardless of the age, build quality, or location of the house, it's always important to have the home inspected. And there's a few different reasons for it. First and foremost, the home inspector is hired by you as the buyer. So ultimately, they have your best interests in mind. And they're going to inspect the house from the foundation all the way to the roof. That means they're going to be going into the crawl space, they're going to be going into the basement, they're going to be going up into the attic, they're going to be getting on top of the roof. Now, building a home is great, and that does mean you're going to get a lot of brand new stuff, which is fantastic. But it's still important to make sure that all of the windows open and close the way they should, to make sure that the HVAC system is working properly, to make sure that there's no leaks, no electrical issues, make sure all the wall sockets and light switches are intact, make sure the appliances that they're putting in the house actually work. All of that is very, very important. And all of that can be accomplished with a home inspection. Them getting on the roof to make sure that there's no nail pops or missing shingles, getting into the attic to make sure that there's no preventable leaks, make sure that there's no issues with the framing, going underneath the house to make sure that you don't have any plumbing issues, make sure that you don't have anything that's hiding behind the walls. It's really important to make sure that the whole home is inspected. Now, a few things to keep in mind with this. There are county inspectors who come out who are going to be giving the home the certificate of occupancy when it's completed, and they're going to be checking at different phases and different levels of construction to make sure that standards are being met, to make sure that they're following construction guidelines, and that is fantastic. It's always great to have that extra layer in there, but you're not guaranteed to get the same county inspector every time there's a new phase of the build that they're going to be coming out to. Maybe that last county inspector did check all of the light switches and wall sockets, but maybe the next county inspector is not going into the crawl space again. Maybe they're not going into the attic, or maybe they're not going on top of the roof to make sure that the shingles are intact and are in place. Um, it's always important to make sure that you've got somebody who's checking on the property and the home as a whole, and going through every single step in the phase and the process to make sure that it is the correct home and that is built properly and correctly. So, along with that, you may want to make sure with the home inspector that you actually go out there with them, at least for the last half hour, 45 minutes, so they can give you a brief overview of their findings. Some things they find may be strictly cosmetic and something that the builder was already planning on getting taken care of. But for a few extra $100, that will give you a great deal of peace of mind when you're ultimately spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on this brand new build. Once you have that inspection report, it's important to make sure that you speak with your agent about that, and also have the conversation with the builder rep and the main production manager who's overseeing the build, so you can voice your concerns before closing, because there may be something that was missed. There may be something where it could be something as simple as a cosmetic fix. It could be something major. Maybe an appliance isn't working properly. Maybe a window isn't installed properly. Maybe there's a framing issue. You never know what can come up, but having that extra line of defense can give you the safety and security of knowing that you're not only purchasing a quality home, but also making sure that any mistakes along the way are being caught, and it's not something that you have to pay for at a later time. And that's why it's important to share all of the information you find along the way. So again, communication is great in this instance. Finding out what the builder is going to do to address your concerns from the home inspection. And that brings me to the third phase, which is repairs. Now, there may be some requested and needed repairs based off of the home inspection, but you should also be doing a pre closing walkthrough with the builder before you actually go to sign all of your documents and close on the house. This would be, in essence, your last opportunity to walk through the house and make sure everything's intact before closing. I would always recommend taking advantage of this time to make sure that you go through every single room individually, take notes, and have any concerns that you have addressed and have a plan in place to fix them if something is found. The last thing you want to do is hear from the builder is, oh, don't worry, we're going to go ahead and make sure we get that addressed after closing. That may be fine if you just have a few simple fixes. Maybe there's a window that's on back order that won't be in for a few weeks and you'd prefer to actually still close on the house. Maybe there's a small issue with the driveway and it needs to have some resurfacing or repaving, but you're not too concerned with it because you don't plan on using the driveway for a little bit of time. Instances like that are okay, but the last thing you want to have is a laundry list of items before you move in that the builder says, oh, yeah, don't worry, we'll go ahead and we're going to get back to that. And this by no means is bashing the builder or bashing, their production process. But the more items on a checklist, the more likely something may be left off. You want to be looking out for yourself. Keep in mind throughout this entire process, the agent who's representing you, your buyer agent, they work for you. The home inspector, they work for you. Ultimately, that builder is working for you for the purchase of this property. They have other homes that they're responsible to fix, to build, and to get ready for sale. However, they do have a responsibility to deliver a quality home to you. So make sure that you're actually taking advantage of this time and bringing all of your concerns to their attention. It is way better to have to push a closing for 2, 3 days, a week to get some minor cosmetic details taken care of so you can be truly happy with your home versus getting completely moved in and waiting to find out when they're going to be sending someone to take care of these fixes. Also, while the home is empty, is the perfect time for any sort of paint touch ups, for any flooring resolutions that need to happen. If you've got to put down new flooring planks, if you've got to replace carpet or clean carpet, it's a lot easier when there's nothing inside of the house. Getting those items and issues resolved before you start moving stuff in is key to making sure that they can be quicker fixes without having to take out too much of your time. And as a side note, it's always important to keep in mind that there are different levels of production and different levels of homes that are being built. You can have what's considered your production level home, which is basically you don't have the ability to make any changes to the house once you purchase the specific floor plan. So you're not even picking the colors of the paint or the types of cabinets that they're putting in. It's all already determined for you. You might have some sort of semi-custom build where you're picking out cabinets, you're picking out countertops, paint colors, flooring. So they give you a few different options, but for the most part, it's still a production level. Or you could have a full-on custom build where you're designing everything from the size of the rooms to where you would like fireplaces to be, to the size of the windows, maybe if you've got a third level or a finished basement. All of that is being determined when you do a custom build. Each one has its own benefits and drawbacks. The main thing to keep in mind is as you go up in customization, your time frame's going up. So it's going to take longer to build a custom home than it will take to build a production level home. A 2,000 square foot home isn't going to take as long to build as a 3,500 square foot home. So these are things to keep in mind. Everything should be laid out for you, not just by the builder and the builder's representatives, but also make sure you're still communicating with your agent so they can still work and operate in your best interests. Ultimately, the ideal goal is to get you into the home that you want and are satisfied with. So that's just a little bit about what to expect and what to look out for when dealing with a brand new home. If you've got any more questions on new home builds, if you've got any questions about new home build construction areas in and around the Greensboro area, if you're planning on purchasing a new home or planning on selling a home, please feel free to give a call to me or a member of my team. Click the link in the description below. We'd love to hear from you and talk with you about your home and about what we can do for you. So until next time, I look forward to talking to you guys. Have a great week.